Hey everyone, Luke here, and today I just want to talk about wheat and the problems, the specific problems with it today, and why we do not include it on nutritional balancing program diets, and why we have people eliminate it completely. Okay, so the first one that you have to realize, the first problem is hybridization. Okay, now that's a big, you'll notice that that's a big theme in nutritional balancing, is that a lot of the foods we don't like today, we don't like as much, is because of hybridization. Okay, so hybridization basically just means that a lot of the plants and animals today have been bred for certain characteristics, but they're usually not bred for healthful characteristics. Okay, so for example, wheat has been hybridized for hundreds of years now, and it's been bred for what? It's been bred to have a lot of yield. Okay, it's been also been bred to reduce, to resist pests, to resist drought and other things like that. But it hasn't been bred to produce the most healthful wheat. Okay, so it's important to realize that's a problem with beef today. A lot of the beef today isn't as healthful as it used to be because the cows are more sickly due to hybridization. It's true with the milk the cows produce. It's also a problem with fruits and vegetables today, is that those are also hybrids, and like I said, they're not usually bred to produce the most healthful product for human consumption. They're usually bred to mostly for high yield, and high yield doesn't equal good nutrition. Okay, so that's the first thing you have to realize. And hybridization always makes things more yin, which is another problem. Okay, and so this hybridization causes a lot of things. First thing you have to realize is glutamine. Okay, so the wheat today has a very high level of glutamine, which is an inflammatory amino acid. The ratio compared to other amino acids is much higher than it used to be in wheat for even like 30 years ago, for example. So it's important to realize, a lot of the foods today that we don't recommend, like wheat was healthful 100 years ago. Okay, just like beef was more healthful 100 years ago. And that's true with a lot of food. And so it's important to realize that today's diets have to be stricter than ever, and that you really need the best diet you can get today, and that includes not eating wheat. So glutamine is, like I said, is an inflammatory amino acid. So what that means is that it causes inflammation in the gut. Okay, that's why people have a lot of digestive issues around wheat. And most people feel better, pretty much everyone in my experience feels better just from eliminating wheat. Okay, wheat's a big problem today. Another problem is low minerals, and it has low protein content. Okay, so one of the issues with hybridization that we talked about is that the wheat today has not only a higher glutamine level, but also has lower protein compared to starch. Okay, this is also, so what it does is it increases the glycemic index. That's why people, a lot of people are somewhat addicted to wheat, just like they're addicted to sugar, is because it has a pretty low protein content and high simple starch content. And so what happens is, it spikes insulin, and so people get somewhat of an insulin rush, and they get, it increases their blood glucose levels, and so it's somewhat addicting. Okay, and also low minerals. Now the low minerals is somewhat from hybridization, but it's also just from the fact that most wheat today is mass produced on a large scale, and so a lot of the wheat today has a very low mineral content, and it's important to realize that that the low mineral content also contributes to inflammation. So it's important to realize that certain minerals are anti-inflammatory. So calcium is anti-inflammatory, magnesium is anti-inflammatory. Most of the alkaline reserve minerals have an anti-inflammatory effect in the body. The most important one being zinc. Okay, and so zinc today has a very low the wheat today, has a very low zinc content compared to what it used to have. And so this also contributes to its inflammatory effect. So you combine that with the high glutamine and the higher starch compared to protein content, and you have a really recipe for a very inflammatory food today. Okay, and all these things contribute to inflammation in the gut. Okay, and like I said, it spikes glucose levels in the blood, and it's just a very irritating food today, and it really tends to upset the digestive system. Many of you are wondering, well, even what if I eat organic, whole grain, sprouted wheat? That's better. Okay, I'm never going to say that eating whole wheat is worse than eating white bread, for example, and that's better. That's a start. White bread should not be consumed at all. But even whole wheat sprouted organic bread, we don't like people to eat, just because the wheat today is, like I said, it's so hybridized that it's really not a healthful food at all, and it's best to eliminate it completely. Now, it's important to note that some people can obviously handle wheat better than others, and some people don't notice as much of a difference. But for optimum health today, it's very important to eliminate all wheat together, and it will slow your healing, especially on a program, and it will slow your development. So it's very important to realize. If you absolutely have to have wheat, like I said, best is going to be whole grain wheat, and the best out of that is actually whole grain sourdough. The reason why sourdough is better than the other wheat breads is because in sourdough, it's actually been fermented, and so it makes the wheat easier to digest because it's already been somewhat digested by the bacteria when they make the sourdough. You know, it's kind of like the same process when they make yogurt or cheese, which makes the dairy somewhat easier to be broken down. The same is true with sourdough. So if you absolutely have to have it, the best wheat bread is going to be whole grain sourdough bread, okay? But even then, I don't like people to eat that, okay? So, you know, eliminate it completely, okay? So that's it. I just want to talk about, you know, I just wanted to talk about some of the issues regarding wheat because a lot of people have a lot of questions, you know, why on earth do I have to eliminate wheat, even like the whole grain? Because a lot of people think that whole grain wheat is good for them. You know, a lot of people think that they're, when they're ingesting whole grains like wheat, you know, that they're eating a healthful diet. But for best health today, you have to eliminate wheat. And I find that the problem today isn't so much gluten. Some people do have to eliminate gluten for a while. So things like oats, barley, rye, those all have gluten in them. But the real problem today is wheat. And once the digestive system heals, I notice that most people can eat gluten-containing grains. Like myself, I eat oatmeal and I eat oats. I do have rye as well, and I do fine off of those. And usually the big culprit today is wheat and also spelt, which is a very close cousin of wheat. So I hope that helps you guys out, and I'll talk to you guys later.